I think people are starting to wonder what Naughty Dog's next project is going to be. There's been a lot of talk and rumors about what's going on in Naughty Dog and what exactly they're working on, and there's a lot to work through. As far as we've been told, the only thing we know is fact is that Naughty Dog is working on a sequel to the factions component of The Last of Us Part 1, and this is likely going to be designed as a platform rather than something they could get a sequel if Part 3 ever comes to fruition. It being a platform basically just means that, like Fortnite or Warzone or any of their favorite service games, it will continue to be supported over a really long period of time depending on its success. There won't be a Part 3 multiplayer. It will serve as The Last of Us multiplayer, just in general, and it will live or die on its own merit. If it takes off, which is obviously positioned to do, then we're probably looking at many, many years of support here. We've been waiting a long time for this game, and I'm glad it's eventually going to come out and just serve as something from Naughty Dog that we can digest during and in between single-player releases, and obviously that's how they want it to pan out, because the longer you're in their universes at any level, the more interested you're likely to get, and thus you're going to buy more of their games, at least in that franchise. But that game is clearly ready to go, so I think that's a good jumping off point for why I'm worrying just a little bit. My biggest worry for Naughty Dog is that they just become the Last of Us studio. Not because I don't like it, but because I like it in doses. I've been playing their games since Crash, and Uncharted has left the biggest impression on me. I like going back to something based a bit more in levity from them, even after Part 1 when we got Uncharted 4 next. They haven't fallen into this yet, but it looks like it could be potentially heading that way, and that worries me just a little bit. It's pretty safe to assume the Last of Us Remake is on the way whether we like it or need it or not, so I feel comfortable saying that the next two games from Naughty Dog are Factions 2 and The Last of Us Part 1. Again, that's 3 in a row, and it's a lot, especially coming from a universe like The Last of Us. Neil recently appeared on a podcast called Script Apart where he mentioned that Haley Gross, who is the co-writer of Part 2 and himself, have already created an outline for Part 3, and while it's not currently in production, they do hope that it gets to see the light of day. Now let me paint a picture for you. It's 2022, The Last of Us Season 1 is airing on HBO to expected critical acclaim. The series takes off. They emulate what happened with The Witcher on Netflix, sending the game's popularity to the moon as if it wasn't there already. Factions 2 has come out already or is positioned to launch in that time frame, and already everyone has reinvested in that world. The Last of Us Remake gets formally announced, and a PS5 upgrade has already been sent out for Part 2. With all of that going on, with all of those games, and the IP getting a popularity boost beyond what it's already achieved, what game do you really think that they're going to make next? Because I'll tell you, they're going to make The Last of Us Part 3, especially considering they already have an outline. It's not exactly unlikely that this plays out this way. The Last of Us show on HBO has hired the best to make it happen. They have a great cast, a great director, Naughty Dog's involved. I think that something catastrophic would genuinely have to happen to derail this momentum. Now, while I think there's more to say in the way of a Part 3, I don't think I'm alone in saying we at least need a break from that. Just on the single player side of things. Part 2 is a depressing and anxiety-filled roller coaster that whether you liked it or not, it probably left an impression on you. I'm 100% down to get Part 3 at the end of the generation again, but the last thing I want is for an entire console cycle to go by with Naughty Dog having only made The Last of Us. Now, not all hope is lost. If we're choosing to rely on rumors and they are working to get 2, maybe 3 things greenlit, there's still a chance that after the mess that was the Sony Ben situation, that the Uncharted game they were originally tasked to make is still being handled by Naughty Dog. I doubt it, but who knows? I think Uncharted could use some time to rest. Even if it's my favorite game franchise, I think it could still use some room to breathe. And please, for the love of God, leave Nathan Drake alone. Leave him out of it. If anything, I'd like to see the Chloe and Friends story continue, as was clearly hinted at the end of Lost Legacy. That said, if we are going to revisit franchises, which Neil did say on that podcast, that they take a look to see if that's a viable option every time they finish up a big project. We need to take a look at Jak and Daxter. Now hear me out. A lot of people look at this on a surface level and think this would be just another silly platformer, and Naughty Dog's talent is beyond that. They say that it would be a waste of talent. I think that this is just so wrong. Naughty Dog attempted to continue Jak before they even settled on the first Last of Us game. That was their original intention. There's even plenty of concept art of what that might have looked like. I really think you have to look at the bigger picture here. Look at what Naughty Dog was able to achieve with Uncharted as a cover shooter. If they could find a middle ground art style that isn't quite the old designs but somewhere between Uncharted 4 and Jak 3, and then they did a massive redesign of Uncharted's cover-based shooting and just turned everything up to 11 with the sci-fi weaponry, the double jumps, the fun characters, it's such an easy sell. And not only that, it's a fun way to challenge themselves to make Jak work in that way. You could literally bring everything in, the hoverboard, the platforming, it could feel so fresh coming off of Part 2 and Uncharted, and if they really want to drive it home, a game like that can make for a very unique multiplayer experience. I know it seems like this type of thing would never happen, but they tried it before, and it's clear they intended to find that middle ground. Jak looks way more realistic than he would have if they had planned to just do a basic Jak 4 sequel, and I really hope they consider this option. We need a palate cleanser from them after The Last of Us Part 2. I think everybody is feeling a bit depressed. I think it's more likely that one of these games is a new IP, which is at the very least what I'm looking for. When they announced The Last of Us for the first time, I was on such a high from 3 Uncharted games that I was in love with that The Last of Us didn't look interesting to me. It just looked like another zombie game, but it ended up being so much more than that. As it stands, we know what's coming in the near future, and some of it's exciting, some of it's concerning. But beyond that, the next time I see that logo at E3, I want to be surprised again, even if it means being a little bit worried at what I see. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for listening.